Hey everyone, welcome back to Buzzworthy. I'm your host, Lacey Harris. I dive into the rare stories entrepreneurs tell about building their businesses, but most importantly, themselves. Let's get into it. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Buzzworthy. I'm your host, Lacey Harris, and today we have Natasha Smith, who is a nutritional practitioner, aka a nutritionist, who loved rollerblading since she was 3 years old, but has leaned into other passions of hers that has led her to building her business and eventually creating custom products and solutions for her clients, all based around their specific needs. Thank you so much for joining us today, Natasha.
Thank you so much for having me. Super excited to be here.
Yeah, it's really exciting because I think the way the world is looking at health today is becoming more personal. And for my own health journey, I know that's super important as well too. But before we even dive into the details of what you do and how you do it, what do you think set you up to become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I definitely have worked in the health sector for over 10 years now. And throughout my entire career, I was always told not to tell the truth, basically, in order to make a sale. So I was definitely tired of that, watching people suffer from different medications, foods, supplements. So I wanted to actually be able to help people rather than just make a sale. So that's the reason why I became an entrepreneur. So I have the ball is in my court. I'm able to actually help you the way that you deserve to be helped.
I absolutely love that because, especially as someone that's done sales in my past life, I definitely found it very hard to sell some products. But what I ended up having to do was find the products that I loved and I can really stand behind. And that's exactly what it seemed like you did. It was uncomfortable, it wasn't true to you. And so you wanted to take control of how you sort of lived your life and feel guilt-free while still helping people.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So you were in the healthcare field for some time. What were some of the roles that you got the ability to see behind the scenes, and what were some of your learnings from them that's helped you in your entrepreneurial journey so far?
Absolutely. So I started off as a personal trainer, and then I started doing group fitness, and I actually won some awards for personal training and group fitness classes. And then I branched off into nutrition. So I was a supplements manager. And from there, I was able to take in and learn exactly what the customer is looking for and what works for them and what does not.
Hmm.
Sorry, what was the second question?
No, it was just, about, what were some of those roles and what did you sort of learn out of those roles and how it, helped build a foundation for where you are today.
Oh, yeah. So, what I learned from those roles is that you don't have to buy the most expensive product in order to see a difference in your health. For instance, the difference between myself and a lot of other supplements managers is that I brought the customer on a tour of the stores. So not only were we going to look at the supplements, I'm also going to show you about different types of foods, what foods you shouldn't be having, there was always a lineup to talk to me because it was a free consultation, basically. So I like to make sure that everybody has the full understanding for whatever specific situation they may be going through. So just, yeah.
Yeah, and I will say, as someone that uses supplements and, I play a little bit more in the alternative care space than the traditional healthcare system, there are a lot of things out there. There are a lot of options, and it can be so overwhelming to go through. So, what do you think pushed you to make the move from working in supplements and eventually taking the leap to becoming a nutritional practitioner?
Absolutely. So the reason why I left working for just supplements is because there's so much more to the story. There's so much more to your story, right? So I want to be able to, my goal at the time was to be able to help people beyond just looking into a certain supplement. The reason why is because supplements also have side effects, right? So you can definitely damage your liver or other organs if you were to just take in 16, 20 supplements at a time rather than
Mhm.
actually fixing your nutrition. So
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to create the perfect nutrition plan for that person so they can wean off whatever medications they may on, as well as any other unneeded supplements that they're on too.
Amazing. Because nutrition, I mean, food is the base of all of this, supplements and medications that we may be on. So why not feed ourselves just good nutrition to start with to maintain good bodies overall?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. A lot of people don't realize that it's ancient nutrition at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
As simple as Advil was made from a certain type of bark. So we have to
Oh.
go back and, see what originally worked for us rather than is trying to keep us buying more.
So, Natasha, when I first spoke to you, I remember you telling me such a compelling, personal story about what actually led you into the field of health and nutrition and fitness. And it all came from your own personal experience, from when you were much younger. So tell us about that and what really laid the foundation for the Natasha and her mission today.
Absolutely. So, the reason why I started my journey is because when I was younger, I was in and out of the doctor's offices weekly. And really, the doctors didn't really know what was going on with me. They were just loading me up with medications, which was actually making me feel anxiety. I was gaining a lot of weight. And it just broke down my confidence completely because I felt abnormal,
Yeah.
basically. And from there, I decided that I am done living like this. I am done being the odd one out, and I want to free myself. So
Yeah.
I started walking to the library, which was a few streets away,
Hmm.
and I started going to the gym as well. And I learned about exactly what was going on with me. And if I was lucky, my dad would take me to the library on Olet. I'm from Windsor, so it's the huge library.
Yeah.
And I was able to lose 25 pounds at that time, as well as have this
Mm.
huge new thirst for knowledge. And
Hmm.
I was able to actually help some friends and family members, especially in regards to my dad. So the story with my dad is he was a doctor of education.
Wow.
And he saw the huge change that I was going through. And he was like, why don't you look into the nutrition background? Why don't you become a nutritionist or a dietitian? And I never really thought about it. I just enjoyed learning. So my dad said that he was going to get me in contact with some of his old colleagues from Wayne State University. And in that process, unfortunately, he did suffer from bless you, from a life-threatening stroke. And the doctors actually gave him less than 1 year to live.
Wow.
It was the most traumatizing moment of my life because my dad was my superhero. I looked up to him for everything. I followed him everywhere. And my family and we actually took my dad home because the doctors were actually saying that we should keep him in a nursing home.
Hmm.
And we completely changed his diet and his lifestyle. And my dad actually lived 3 years, surpassed doctor speculations.
That
So,
is unbelievable and absolutely amazing because there's so many times that, people get diagnosis like this and, they either succumb to that timeline sooner than later. But it's almost like everything you went through was there to help him live a little bit longer than he was even expected to. And not even just a little bit, like 3 times longer.
Yeah, he's definitely my motivation, sorry.
Yeah. No, it's a hard one, but it's such an important one because your mission now is so clear, and every time you meet with a client and you see them in a place where they lack hope, like you actually understand that, right? You understand that in a very personal way in two levels for yourself and then with your dad as well too. So it's incredible that you found yourself in a place that wasn't quite authentic to who you wanted to be, but you knew you wanted to help people and you eventually went down this road where this is exactly what you're doing with How to Bloom, your company.
Yeah, my overall mission is to help other people bloom into their full potential, just like my dad did.
Yeah.
And being able to change people's lives completely from mystery illnesses has been absolutely life changing for me. And I still get that same feeling of completion
Yeah.
like I did when I helped my dad.
Yeah.
Even though it was absolutely terrible with what happened with my dad, he was definitely the reason why a lot of people are doing better today.
Yeah. And that, not that it will ever feel truly 1000% great, but it makes what you do every day so worth it.
Yeah,
And it's these kind of conversations that people don't necessarily know about the business owners and why they started their businesses and what really motivates them. And so, what I hope, someone listening to this conversation could take out of it is, experiences that may be not so pleasant, not so happy, not so joyous. It's really the dark moments that help us create something that's so fulfilling to us and just creates a mission for us to keep living our lives in that type of way.
absolutely. Like the saying goes, it has to rain before the rainbow.
Yeah, I like that. I've actually never heard it, but I like that. And so, Natasha, this was obviously, sort of a foundational experience for yourself, for your dad. And then you became a nutritional practitioner where you were actually helping your clients, meet these milestones within their lives that they never thought they would. What is it about nutrition that you think fundamentally that most people actually get wrong and you help correct with your clients when they come to see you?
Absolutely. Well, a story um, actually relates to me. So I'm originally from Windsor, Ontario.
Hmm.
And when I moved to Hamilton, I was a pescatarian. So, which means that I only ate fish as a meat source.
Hmm.
And I was a pescatarian for 2 years. And on the outside, everybody, including myself, thought that I was the healthiest person out there. I was a personal trainer. I only ate fish, I didn't eat junk food and whatnot. But really, that was the worst decision I've ever made
Oh,
because
wow.
my liver was still processing the trauma of losing my dad.
Yeah.
So that it couldn't actually deal with those stressors from moving to this new city, eating this new diet, as well as I was in school. So the stress from school as well. So then my entire body started to break down to the point where I looked so extremely unhealthy. But
Mm.
everybody on paper would assume that I was the healthiest person ever. Right?
Yeah.
So the way that this relates to other people is that you may see somebody, the that certain man, he's known as the healthiest person ever, but then he drops with a heart attack. How did
Hmm.
that happen? Or, you see somebody else and she is always eating healthy. She's vegan. She always makes time for meditation. And then she ends up with a certain type of cancer, or another person ends up with Crohn's disease. There's so many factors that happen, and they're known as mystery illnesses. And that's where I shine because I love putting the puzzle pieces together to be able to help people figure out exactly what the root problem is. It's so crazy because when I was in and out of doctors' offices and going from practitioner to practitioner to practitioner, trying to figure out exactly what was going on, they did exactly what they did to my dad, which was I call the band-aid effect, where they just look on the outside layer rather than figuring out exactly what's triggering it, because the entire body is known as a puzzle. Right?
Yes.
Every single thing is connected. Your ear is connected to your kidneys. Okay. Like those strangest things, the little things nobody really takes in. And I'm here to be able to put those pieces together and explain it in a way that you understand. Right. And I also like to include visuals as well. So I just want to break things down for people.
Yeah, and when we break it down, it becomes much more manageable for us to make smaller changes that adds up to bigger changes. And I think one of the biggest things that you're saying here is like health is not a perception of what we think it actually is,
Hmm.
right? Like you said, this big buff guy, just falls of a heart attack one day. Who knows why? Someone that's vegan gets cancer or something like that. But nutrition is so much more complex than just doing something extreme in either direction. It really is the combination of one, your emotional well-being. I think you touched on that a little bit as well too, because you're talking about moving to a new city, having all these massive changes and your body just didn't know how to adjust at that point. And I think that's something that happens to a lot of people, especially at the beginning of the year when they're setting resolutions and they're cutting things out and, they're really stripping down their lives in that way. So it's fantastic to know as a practitioner, you're really helping them reconnect with their body and help them understand how their body is this puzzle piece that, when one puzzle piece is missing or not fitting properly, it really sends the whole system out of whack.
100%. And a lot of the time, people don't take in that the reason why practitioners like myself, we like to look at your full history is because sometimes you haven't fully healed from something that happened maybe 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's true. My grandmother actually had a stroke over 25 years ago or so, and I took her to my acupuncturist at the time, and it was unbelievable to me because I'd always known her. I grew up with knowing that her mouth was like twisted to one side of her face because
Right.
of the stroke she had over 20 something years ago. And through seeing my acupuncturist, in just a few times, it was incredible to see her face readjust, even after all of those years of her face look in this one particular way. I had always known it. Like that was my normal baseline for her. And to see that change from just a health perspective and understanding how the body is more interconnected in these ways was mind blowing to me.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So when it comes to, you know, working with a nutritionalist or a nutrition practitioner like yourself, I think it's quite interesting and important that people understand that one thing triggers the whole thing. And the one thing that we do every day is eat and fuel our bodies.
Yeah.
And so I want to tip into that because when COVID happened, that was a very, very scary time from a health perspective for basically everyone. Everyone was thinking about their health, everybody was thinking about their mortality because there was so much unknown and happening around that time. But that's when you started making juices for your clients. Let's dive into that a little bit.
Yes, COVID is definitely when I started to bloom. So I wasn't working for myself at the time, but I remember when I was a supplements manager, all of my main customers were coming in asking the same question, which was, how can I avoid having to take other medications? What can I do? What is the best way to make everything all in one and have it taste great? So then I actually started on the side, I started making concoctions, right? With all of the herbs that you're going to need that I learned about in school and, different types of foods and whatnot. And they started to sell. I'm like, you know what? This could definitely be a business. But the question was, what was the name? And it turned out because every single question was how to, how to, how to. So
Yeah.
How to Bloom was born.
That I love it because it's so organic, right?
Mhm.
People come and I know a lot of people are always looking for, oh, what do I do? How do I become an entrepreneur? But it sometimes just comes to you in moments like this, right?
Yeah, 100%. There's
Yeah.
always a story, right? There's always a reason for whatever you're going through at that time. And for me, even though I remember just thinking that, oh my gosh, right now this is COVID, it's the worst thing ever. All these people are, you have to be careful who you talk to and whatnot. But really, it's what began my career. It's what pushed me this far. So,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah, it was a real make or break time. And I actually learned this the other day listening to a podcast. There is a Chinese word that basically means crisis and opportunity is exactly the same thing. And I thought it was so profound and I wasn't sure it was right, so I Googled it. Obviously, I unfortunately don't know how to say the Chinese word, but it was so telling that, you know, COVID was such a big crisis, but for you, it created this opportunity.
It did. It definitely did.
Yeah.
It actually had me this year, even though throughout everything that happened, I was actually part of the running to become the Entrepreneur of Impact through Forbes from everything that happened. So you would never assume that,
Mm-hmm.
like that could happen to me.
And that wasn't very long ago when this idea of yours first started. Can you remember the first customer you made one of your concoctions for?
Absolutely. So it was somebody, so she was suffering from getting over COVID, post COVID,
Mm-hmm.
basically. And she had no taste, of course. She noticed that she was getting a lot of flares as well in her back, especially.
Yeah.
And I made her my Paresso, the iced Paresso latte.
Mm-hmm.
And because it has a lot of superfoods in that latte, um, it helped with just rejuvenating her body again. And then she was able to have the energy and the motivation because she was very, very sluggish.
Yeah.
and it helped with bringing back her taste as well. So the nice thing with my beverages is that they have more than one benefit because they're made from superfoods.
Yeah. And how did Forbes find you to, eventually have you nominated as one of, the entrepreneurs of impact?
Okay, well, I have a routine. Every morning, after I do my Bible study, I always listen to either a TED Talks or I'll read an article. And the article is always from Forbes. And
Mm,
when I was reading that article, I saw that they were actually starting a competition called the Entrepreneur of Impact.
hmm.
And it was through Damon John, which is from, he's from Shark Tank.
Yeah.
And there was application. And, I was going through a really difficult time at the time. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just see what happens. And then they called me.
Wow. It was as simple as
Yeah,
that.
it was so simple, but it took a long time. I applied in early last year, right?
Hmm.
And then I finally got a call at the end of last year. So, yeah, I was so surprised, but so blessed to have such a amazing opportunity like that.
Yeah. And what do you think they saw in your business, How to Bloom, and you as an entrepreneur to have you a part of this esteemed group?
They said the two main things that grabbed their attention was one, my story.
Yeah.
And then the second one is because they've never seen symptom-specific beverages before. They've
Mm,
seen drinks that helps with like, okay, this is gonna boost your immunity, or this is gonna give you energy, but not things that are gonna like have a customer request, like, okay, I need this for Crohn's disease, or I need this for a migraine,
yeah.
something like that. So they've never seen it before, so they're like, why not give you a try? You just started, but we have hope in you.
Yeah. And I think that's, it's something I sort of mentioned earlier in the podcast is, this very personalized way of looking at health is really the next step because there isn't a blanket answer for everything and everyone, right?
Mhm.
Because our histories are all different, how our bodies are going to respond to things are all different. And a theme that's coming up in every entrepreneur conversation this season has all been about niche. How do you carve out a very specific niche and a very specific group of customers you can target and serve them exceptionally well? How do you think that you decided to go from, you know, okay, I make juices and now, and instead of just making juices that you can walk into a cafe, pick up a green juice off the shelf, to saying, I'm going to focus on clients and their very specific needs and craft these beverages for them?
Okay. Well, for myself, I'm a very specific person.
Yeah.
So the reason why a lot of people gravitate towards me to help them is because they know that I'm going to figure out exactly what's going on and over explain it. So then being able to put this into my creation and have it actually work for that person plus other people and whatever symptoms that they may be going through,
Yeah.
that definitely, you know, brings joy into not only my life but theirs as well. I like to have basically what my friend likes to call it is a canvas of everything that you're going through all in one.
I like that. I like that because then that canvas can be as beautiful as you want it to be.
Exactly.
And it takes a disaster and makes it something appealing, you know?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So as an entrepreneur, um, and having a small group of people or a very specific type of customer is often very scary, right? Because you're thinking now for you, Natasha, once your clients are, let's say, quote unquote, healed, they feel like you have solved the problem that they came to you to initially. A lot of entrepreneurs fear that if you solve that problem 100%, you lose a customer, and then how do you grow your business in that way? Is that something you've ever been concerned about?
When I first started, How to Bloom Incorporated is actually my third business. I've
Mm-hmm.
had two others before, which was, the first one was personal training, then the second one was personal training and nutrition, but my niche, of course, is nutrition.
Yeah.
And I always worried about that, but I started to think about myself. So I remember when I was in and out of the doctor's offices, they always wanted me to come back, right? That's why they gave you a certain medication because of side effects. They want you back.
Yeah.
And that was my biggest headache. So I do not want other people to feel like they're going to have to stick with me forever. No, I'm here for this milestone that you're going through. And then if you want to come back and work with me, of course you can. But the reason why you're here is to figure out exactly what's going on so then you can live up to your full potential. So
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
way that I like to look at it. I always tell my customers as well, we're going to focus on A, B, and C because this is the most important. And then you should be perfectly fine afterwards. And then I recommend certain products, of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then from
Yeah.
there, they're normally good to go. But they always come back because they're like, okay, I have a slight problem now that I still need help with. Do you mind? And I have absolutely no issues with that. But I don't want to keep you forever
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
But also those great clients of yours that come back, even with a small thing, because Natasha's now the fixer of everything health for them. Um, how is it like, how is it with referrals? You must have like a really strong referral base through your own clients with seeing consistent success.
Absolutely, because a lot of people they go through similar things, right? So of
Hmm.
course they're referring their friends to me, they're referring their family members, but it's not the most obscene situations. Like they all fall under one category at the end of the day, which is
Yeah.
always digestion.
Oh, interesting.
Hmm.
So digestion seems to be, I think, a big problem overall, right? People like myself, I'm gluten intolerant, so I only really eat products that are sourdough based or fermented in some kind of way when it comes to wheat. And, a lot of people have other digestive issues. Do you think there's something more systematic that's happening, that's causing this impact, and then having people having to figure out other ways to kind of live life when it comes to food?
Do you mind elaborating a little bit more?
Yeah. So let's say for myself, when I travel to Europe, I actually don't have a problem with wheat products there at all. I have no problem with wheat products in Europe, but if I eat wheat products from North America, I like immediately I blow up. Like my
Okay.
whole body just becomes super, super inflamed. And obviously that's stemming from digestion and all of that. And I think more and more, I think people question, is being gluten-free just a fad, or are people really experiencing this thing that's happening to them? I don't know if you have, it's okay if you don't have any thoughts around it, but if digestion is the real problem that everyone is flooding into your business for solutions, there must be an external trigger that's pushing that. That would be one of my thoughts.
Definitely. So, the reason why you would feel a certain way in a place like Europe compared to North America is due to the quality. So, because there's so many different types of, okay, let me just say, so for instance, if you were to get a product that's organic and it was made here, right? And then at that organic farm, a few neighborhoods away, there is another farm and they're using all of these different types of pesticides, and that's in the air and that's in the water, and then it makes its way to your organic food sources, right?
Yes.
So then that's going to cause a trigger to you, even though it is a cleaner source compared to in other countries, right? They're not using as much pesticides. They're using cleaner sources. They're not loading up your breads with, um, fake vitamins because it was already leached out. They're all
Mm-hmm.
the real sources, the real foods. So that's why your body is reacting a lot better because it's the cleaner version, the actually cleaner version compared
Yeah.
to having all of these fake nutrients pumped in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So how do you as a nutritionalist, help somebody like myself? Do we simply just find alternative solutions like sourdough that works for me, but might not work for everybody? Or are there other things nutritionally that we can do to boost our digestion quality, like how well we digest food?
Absolutely. So, funny thing, I actually just had a client who was having a very similar situation. Basically, they were allergic to everything under the sun, you know,
Mm.
every type of food, anything that tastes good, they're allergic to. And they thought, like, okay, I have to cut out this, I have to cut out that, I have to cut out this because I have really bad flares, I have really bad migraines, so, da da da. And it turned out it was actually because their kidneys were not filtering their blood properly. Okay.
Mm.
So the blood was actually very, very unclean. It had a lot of toxins in it. So then every time when it ran through the kidneys couldn't cleanse it out properly. So then you're getting, because the blood runs through the entire body, it's
Mhm.
going to start, causing other issues in those other areas. And you would assume that it's from that food that you just ate.
Yeah.
Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
That absolutely does make sense. And I love that you're not just using, traditional methods to actually get to the root cause of some of these things, but doing things like blood work and actually showing people what are some of these markers. Because, some people believe that when you go into alternative care or look in for someone like a nutritionalist, it's all in this like hocus pocus kind of space. But there's so many practitioners that I work with as well too that we very much leverage the traditional system that gives us deeper insight to actually help us get to the root cause faster so we can know things like this, like the kidney's not working optimally, the liver is not working optimally,
Mhm.
and we can provide these alternative solutions to get us back on track from a root cause perspective.
Exactly. Yeah, everything, as I always say, everything is connected at the end of the day. What you
Mhm.
think is actually, you're allergic to could really just be no, you need to have this area of your body worked on first, and then you'll be able to digest a lot easier.
Yeah. So, what do you think is next for yourself and how to bloom?
So right now I have been focusing on getting out more products, but the way that I've been getting so many more requests has been quite a bit. So I'm not doing as much as I would prefer, but I'm super happy with being able to help everybody all at once.
Hmm.
Um, I am, I've just launched my delivery services. So right now, How to Bloom Incorporated is delivering Ontario wide for beverages like that.
Amazing.
So super excited about that. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, so basically that is what is going on with me right now.
That is huge. That is absolutely huge. So proud to see the progress you've made from, really starting this from the first juice slash latte you made for your very first client to now offering your services, How to Bloom, across Ontario, which is incredible because now we can trust you to know that, you know the sources, you're doing the research, you've worked in the industry and understand, what the standards are, and now you're providing the service that, you know, myself and listeners and anyone else that feels like they need a little boost in their health can come to you or utilize one of your products that might work for them really well.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a huge change. I'm super excited the way that everything has been going, but so far so good.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. You know, progress is everything, no matter how small and how big. And this is a big one.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we like to go through these last questions just to help you reflect on your journey a little bit. Over the last year, over the last few years since you've been in business, what is one thing you want to leave behind in your entrepreneurial journey?
Absolutely. Definitely the one thing I want to leave behind is self-sabotage. You know,
Mm. What does
yeah.
that look like for you?
I because when I was younger, I was always picked on because of my weight and because I was quiet. Everybody assumed that I was dumb.
Hmm.
So those little voices are in the back of my head telling me like, "Oh, you're not good enough. Oh, you're not smart enough. Um, you don't know how to talk to people." Da 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 da. So I need to leave that in the past. I need to just, you know, see what I've done so far, how much I've bloomed to help other people bloom into their full potential, and just know that everything is working for my good. God wouldn't have brought me this far to lead me astray,
Yeah.
right?
I
So,
think that's a great one to leave behind is self-sabotage because we do that in so many ways, whether it's procrastination, whether it's just thinking we are not capable of it. Those things definitely are roadblocks we put up for ourselves. And in the entrepreneurial journey, we've got enough natural roadblocks. We don't have to be building them ourselves.
no, and that's how we, destroy anything that's working.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So, on to our next question. What's one thing you learned the most? Like, what's the biggest thing that you've learned so far?
But I'm strong. That is definitely a big one that I've learned that I am a lot stronger than I think I am. I tend to build things up in my head to be much worse than they actually are.
Hmm.
And as my mom would say, nagasa. I learned from a mentor the abbreviation of the word fear, which is false evidence appearing real. So I have to
Mm.
repeat that to myself just to remember that you're strong, you got this. All of these voices in your head, it's not true. You can do anything that you set your mind to. And so far, you're still doing it, and people are doing a lot better because of the way that you've helped them. So just pushing forward.
Yeah. And looking for that evidence that is actually real, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
I like that. I like that a lot. You know, when I think about this question, even for myself, I don't think strong would ever be an answer that I would give, but I love that answer a lot because it's it's a moment of being proud, especially when you start with, I self-sabotage. But now you know you're strong enough to overcome that self-sabotage. Um, and that I think is an incredible way to answer that question instead of going towards the negative side and really looking at what am I good at? And I think that kind of confidence is truly incredible and will definitely keep you moving forward.
Thank you. That's so
Yeah.
nice.
And then our last question is, what is one thing you hope to take into the future with you?
One thing that I am taking into the future is my passion.
Yeah.
No matter how much work I have to do, no matter how much pushing I have to do to, keep pushing forward, I have to be sure that I have to remember my passion, the reason why I'm doing this, the reason why I started How to Bloom Incorporated in the beginning.
Yeah. And that is truly what keeps us going. And, failure only happens when you decide not to get up again. But you get up because that passion keeps you going. And I hope that really sinks in for everyone. So not every not every opportunity we see we have to chase, and sometimes one opportunity leads us to the next, but if we have the passion, the natural motivation will come with it to see it through.
Yeah, you don't want to see your career, what you're doing right now, whether it's your career, whether it's, anything with your health, you don't want to see it as work. At the end of the day, you want to see it as the reason why you started. So
Yeah.
you have to remember to always just have that in your backpack.
I think that's the great way to end the podcast is, tap into your reason why, what you do, and why you are going to keep going. And if you don't have that, then maybe it's time to reevaluate the actions you take every day, because maybe they're not leading you in the direction that you truly want to go in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
Natasha, it has been such a pleasure hearing your story all over again, and so many more things I learned about you, like ultimately having other businesses. So this is your third venture, you know, but you can see that your passion actually wove through in all those different areas that eventually led you to where you are today. So I'm so happy to have you here and have you tell your story and hear your insights. And I hope you are incredibly proud of yourself, because you take risk, you do what you need to do. You're now a part of, like, an elite group of Forbes Impact founders. And that, I think, is just, an extra pat on the back to say, keep going.
Thank you. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Well, stay tuned for our next episode.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We're so glad to have you as part of our Buzzworthy community as we grow our network of buzzworthy businesses. Continue to follow us on all the social media platforms at buzzworthy_pod, and follow us on whatever platform you're listening to so that you can get the new episodes as soon as they're out. This Buzzworthy podcast could not be done without our incredible team, starting with our music by Khaled Imam, our video and sound engineer, James Clark, Yvette Robichaux, our social media manager, Cesar Cardania, our brand and creative lead, and finally, your host and executive producer, Shalacy Harris. We'll see you next week.